Being in a relationship where it doesn't feel like there's enough sex may sound like a trivial, almost comedic luxury problem, as if someone were complaining that they weren't getting enough tennis or yoga in a week. But the absence of sex is not trivial in the least. It is a deeply serious, humbling issue, one that can quietly erode trust and might even be what ultimately destroys the relationship. One statistic stands out. Across OECD countries, 70% of those who initiated divorce cited a lack of sex as the first or second reason for ending their marriage. If there is any safe generalization to make about couples, it is this. A consistent lack of sex, something like less than 4 times a month, is an alarm bell we must learn to hear. Why is sex such a central part of keeping two people close? Because during sex, both individuals accept each other in the most profound and unguarded way. The parts of us we fear are dirty, shameful, or strange. The fantasies we hide and the longings we rarely express all become legitimate in sex. Someone else sees us and accepts us, not only as psychological beings, but as physical ones too. Sex becomes a symbol of the end of loneliness. It represents trust, safety, and mutual recognition. When a person cannot bring themselves to have sex with their partner, it often signals something more serious than low desire. It may reveal that they no longer feel able to be fully themselves in the other's presence. Lack of sex is difficult enough on its own, but what truly threatens a relationship is the way unmet sexual longing tends to manifest. The person who wants sex rarely asks for it calmly or clearly. They might slide a hand across the bed in a half-hearted attempt, hope for reciprocation, or simply wait for the other to notice. But they seldom voice their hurt directly. They do not give a thoughtful speech about how difficult the situation has become, nor gently inquire about what might be troubling their partner. Instead, they often move into symptomatic behavior, acting out their humiliation rather than discussing their pain. They slam cupboards. They snap over minor things. Conflicts begin to multiply, seemingly about issues totally unrelated to sex: the in-laws, the dishes, the messy bedroom. The partner who feels sexually rejected may start acting so wounded or irritable that they seem monstrous, which only makes sexual intimacy even less likely. Eventually, the person who feels starved may pursue an affair, not necessarily because they don't love their partner, but because expressing desire has become so wrapped in shame and rejection that they are seeking reassurance or revenge. The conversation about lack of sex is so hard precisely because it touches something intensely vulnerable: the fear of being unwanted. It confirms every hidden worry about being unattractive or unworthy. It is painful enough to be rejected on a date. It is devastating to feel undesired within the supposed safety of a committed relationship. One might assume something is wrong with the partner, but far more often, a deeper suspicion arises. Perhaps something is fundamentally wrong with us. Key to reconciliation is learning to soften our harsh judgments and rein in the self-disgust long enough to consider that the partner who has withdrawn from sex has their own unspoken reasons they may not know how to communicate. Everyone wants sex in principle. When someone does not want sex, it is almost always because certain emotional, psychological, or physical conditions are not being met. Privately, the sex-avoiding partner might think, "I could have sex if you listened more, if you helped me feel less overwhelmed, if you weren't so sharp with me about chores." Or sometimes the reasons are more intimate. "I'd want sex if we could explore fantasies, if you were more open to role play, if kissing mattered more, if I could be rougher or softer or more submissive." The partner being denied sex rarely gets to hear these truths put gently, without accusation. Therefore, one classic, deliberately structured recommendation is for both partners to write each other a letter titled simply, "What I Want from Sex." It is a ritual that encourages radical honesty, vulnerability, and clarity. It allows both individuals to articulate their desires, fears, and preferences without interruption, defensiveness, or shame. It is then the responsibility of each partner to receive the other's words with seriousness and good faith. Two people will always be somewhat sexually mismatched, but we must not let our fear, embarrassment, or resentment create a secondary wall of punishment, withdrawal, or sarcasm. We must find modest ways to harmonize what each person wants, so that the banging dishes and icy silences stop. Each time a couple manages to have an honest, gentle conversation about sex, especially in the quiet hours of the night. The angels of relationships hover above the room and blow invisible trumpets, celebrating two people who have just significantly improved their chances of lasting a little longer together.